when the meteor hits the center of the ocean, it takes time for the waves to hit shore, right? And I think that everything that's happened with the debt, with credit card debt, with home foreclosures coming that are being held back,
crazy.
I believe that people that get in now and learn the game now and get in and understand how to navigate and how to make money with various strategies.
Yep.
I think the opportunity in the next 4 to 5 years is going to be like nothing that we've ever seen. I really do.
What is up, the Science of Flipping family? I am back with an incredible guest. One of my favorites already, and here's why. He is an ex-professional baseball player and played for my favorite team, the San Francisco Giants. But he's also an incredible real estate investor, businessman, coach, and just an all-around great human being. Today, we're talking to DJ Thielen. What's up, dude?
What's up, my man?
My man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, I got something for you, actually.
Oh, come on, man. I'm hopeful.
Dude, here's the thing.
Yeah.
So, dude, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Rookie card 1993. There's a funny story behind it. I'll tell you later. Yeah, it's only worth $150, but you know, it's, I mean,
hey,
if you hold
priceless,
it might go up to $250.
Priceless for me, right there. That is priceless. Yeah, dude. I mean, I was so excited to hear we were bullshitting about your baseball journey, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a super Giants fan. You didn't even tell me it was Giants.
Yeah.
You're like, no way. And so that's how we connected, dude. I'm super excited to have you here.
Yeah, man.
So thank you for this. This is phenomenal, dude.
Yeah.
Signed and everything. This is phenomenal. I love it. 1 of 1. My man. Look at you. Young, good looking, out in the fields. Love that. Right on. Listen, the connection between sports and business to me is so pivotal. And I want to jump right into that. And because there's something that we want to go through about the mindset it takes to be a professional athlete, what it does, believe it before you can see it. The same is true about business. Absolutely. So let's jump into that.
Oh, dude, 100%. So I think, look, what I come to know at 53 now is when it comes to anything in life, it all starts with our belief in ourselves, right? And obviously, as a guy of faith and a believer, that's a big part of it too. But, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to.
Yeah.
Right? So the level that you believe that you can do something is a level that you're going to be able to achieve that. And so just like I was sharing with you right before this, in the 3rd grade, I have that piece of paper back there, and I wrote down one time, like in the 3rd grade, I'm a baseball player, or what do you want to be? I want to be a professional baseball player. I'm the best player in the minor leagues. I literally wrote that on that, right? So no lack of confidence at 10 years old.
Right.
So then I want to play professional baseball, blah, blah, blah. So you fast forward many years later, and I thought about it more than once, but I wrote it down in the 3rd grade, and something I wrote down once in the 3rd grade ended up manifesting. So I'm a big believer in manifestation, writing out the perfect day, vision board, all of that, which we can get into. But I think that, you just have to believe in yourself. You just do. And
so let's stay on this for a second, because I say something that could be triggery to some people. But people have this ability to believe in Jesus. Yourself.
Yes.
Myself. Have you ever shaken Jesus' hand personally?
Have not.
Me neither. Shocker. But but at what level of faith do you have that Jesus walked this planet, that did everything that was in the Bible? Your level of faith and belief is unmeasurable, right?
Yeah.
But people won't do the same thing for themselves. That's where I go, whoa, bro, like this is insane. You will believe in a person that rightly so walked this earth, changed the earth. There's literally like...
That you haven't seen.
Nobody has. There's no one walking the planet right now that has said, hey, I shook Jesus' hand. Yeah. Nobody. You don't have one person that can corroborate with you that he is there and what he's real and all that stuff. But when you... DJ Thielen or Justin Colby or anyone who wants to help people reach limits beyond where they've reached. And we ask them to believe in it blindly, that you can achieve this thing you're trying to do because you've achieved it and I've achieved it and we know it's doable. Somehow there's a breakdown in the belief system.
Yeah.
That they don't believe they can do it. They can't align themselves. But again, it could be triggery. but they're willing to have such a deep belief in Jesus Christ. And I say, there's something amiss there.
Yeah.
Because it's the same level of belief, if not probably deeper.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too, right, as we know, stems from childhood, right? If somebody, I think there's a lot of us, I mean, I grew up with ADHD massive. Like, I mean, dude, I can't believe I was never on medication. Like, that's how extreme. Yeah. So massive ADHD, no dad, had some abuse, you know, poor financially, single mom working 2 jobs. And I think that you either take that and go, you know, you learn from it. Like, hey, I understand what it means to work hard. I understand what it means to you know, be a good parent, right? Or the best parent that my mom knew how to be, right? With what she was given. So I think that you either become the victim or the victor, but it's really a choice. I mean, there's a lot of people that grew up with alcoholic parents, and they either become just like that, or they go, I'm never going to do that. So I think that in knowing what we want, we can really get to our goals or manifest by knowing what we don't want, right? Like for me,
100%.
It was like, my dad wasn't there. It's like, I'm going to be there for my son. And that was the beginning of, you know, he was born and I was going to take a year off and go back, and never did. So I think that in knowing what we want is great, obviously is huge, but also knowing like how we don't want to be and knowing what we don't want or how we don't want to be can also lead us to how we want to be. If that's
so. Do you know, you've coached hundreds, thousands of people. I mean, you've been around a long time helping others achieve.
Yeah.
Do you find that motivation of what you don't want is stronger than what you want? Or do you find people's desire or motivation to get what they don't have or the thing they want is stronger than what they don't want?
That's a good question, man. For me, I think the motivation for what I want is stronger for me personally. And so, but I think the key is you have to keep reinventing. So when you hit those goals, you've got to be humble enough to go, okay, these were my goals. I'm getting close to them. Let me move out another 5 years, 10 years, right? And you keep moving that, knowing that you're probably never going to hit it.
Yeah.
But like if I do hit it, hey, let me set some new goals that are bigger and badder and right. And let me push that out again. So I think that where you don't get comfortable, I think that you always have to be willing to push the envelope and not get comfortable. Cause I just feel like, you know, we can always be better.
Yep.
And so just chasing that best version of us, I think.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's funny. I've coached thousands of people in the real estate space specifically. And I come to find that people tend to be more motivated by the thing they want. Although for me, I'm a little bit more like you. I didn't want to be my mom, my daddy, and stepdad, all alcoholics. My mom, manic depressive, pill popper, like the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm more motivated by what I don't want to become or what I didn't want or the reality of what my childhood was than I'm necessarily I mean, there's a combination.
Sure.
But that definitely was the motivation for me to get off my ass and go do the thing. Now I'm at a place in life where it's definitely more motivated by like, oh, I could achieve even more. And there's more out there to go do. And, but it is an interesting question I'm posing too, because I think it's people, you know, are either led by the carrot or the stick. And I think people have to rectify, like, is it more important for you to not have the thing you don't want? Or is it more important for you to excel and achieve? Because I believe we're all here to go to the moon and back. Like, we are here to live our highest highs.
Yeah.
Live the epic life, right?
Yeah.
So how does this kind of getting back to this transition of sports to business, how do we connect those two? Because there's a lot of the mental similarities there.
I just think that, you know, man, I think that a couple things. So when it comes to anything in life, it comes down to our thoughts, our beliefs, our habits, our routines, right? And that's really what it comes down to. So I think a lot of times people are like, well, how do I believe in myself? How do I get into action? Mm-hmm. Right? You've got to get into action. It's the Tony Robbins success cycle, right? It's like, as I get into action, when I ask people, what do you think it starts with? Is it action? Is it belief?
Yeah.
Is it like, where do you think it starts? Right. and everyone picks it wrong.
Yeah.
And it's seeing it. It's already seeing it as if it already happened
without actually feeling it.
Yeah.
See it before you feel
it. And then you see it in your mind. So when you see it in your mind, you're going to want to take more action. When you take more action, you get great results. Mm-hmm. So you see, it starts with seeing the results.
Yeah.
Right? Then you're going to be motivated to take action. Then you get good results. And then that leads to tapping your highest level of potential. And this thing will spiral, I found, either for you or against you. Right? And so if you think that, if you can see it in your mind, that whole thing, if you see it in your mind, you hold it in your hand, it really is true, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And so I think that for people to see it in their mind, that's why I'm a big believer in vision board, but then you gotta take action. Like you got to get into, I think that's where the rubber hits the road with a lot of entrepreneurs talking about, right? Entrepreneurship is people want this and they say they want this, but then it's like, yeah, but, and then they start coming up with all these excuses. Well, but I'm working. Oh, I got a kid. Well, I've got this or that or whatever. And then you got to get around communities that, or events or whatever, where there's other people that are actually are busier than you. Totally. And open, and you go, oh my God, man, this guy drives 3 hours a day for work, has to get up at 2:00 to get a workout in. And he's done 10 deals, and I've got a guy like that I mentor right now. He's done 10 deals in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And so what's your excuse kind of thing? So I think the more that we're exposed and around people that are doing big things, that nucleus, right?
Totally.
The core group, it pulls the best out in us.
Yeah.
Really does.
Obviously the sports and business world. Now, why did you go down real estate? Like, you leave professional sports, and real estate becomes your new addiction, right? So why real estate? At all the things you could have been doing.
Well, yeah. So the funny thing is, at first it wasn't. So when I left, I unexpectedly left ball, like a lot of people, right?
Sure.
Life throws you a curveball, no pun intended, and you got to make adjustments. So as that journey started, and kind of being the dad that I didn't have, right, down a new path, I had a guy, Chuck Roberts, actually take me under his wing. He was the number one sales guy in the country for home security systems, took me under his wing, and basically started his first company that he built to a multi-freaking $1,000,000 company. And he took me under his wing and said, hey, DJ, I was doing telemarketing. He said, hey, would you want to make some more money? Do you want to make some more money, right? The power of asking a great question.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, yeah, of course, right? This 1 year old or whatever. So I ended up, he started his first company. I was his only sales rep. It was a huge blessing because he took me under his wing and taught me. I was running 50 appointments a week. I had a Thomas guide. We didn't have the phones, right?
Yeah.
So that really taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about sales. He taught me a lot about people. And I always loved helping people. But he taught me a lot about the intangibles of sales, having a process, how to build a heart connection, how to build rapport, all of that, right? The basics. And really, that was the beginning of kind of my entrepreneur journey. I left there 2 years later, started my own company because I thought I knew, you know everything.
Yeah,
not, right? Of course. So I did that and then got lucky and sold it some years later. And when I sold it, that's what got me into real estate. Okay. I always wanted to get into real estate. I always watched the Carlton Sheets, Russ Dalby, all the old schools, Dean Graziosi,
sure.
Who's still, killing it. And but I used to watch these, Justin, and I used to say, I don't know what it was, man. It was like just something in my soul was like, I just loved, I was just like, I want to learn that.
Yeah.
So after I sold my company, I went to an event. Was Robert Allen and Kiyosaki, like a co-event.
Sure.
And then, they upsell you to the $4,000 weekend. So I did that, and you come away with the big, thick books. Now, you and I were talking about this. I wasn't the most studious kid in the class, right?
Sure.
So I'll leave it at that. But so, rather than going through these books, I just was like, hey, everything in my life, how to hit a baseball, how to build a business, I just knew myself well enough to know I learned by doing.
Yeah.
Right? So I knew, like, I just got to get in the game.
Okay.
And I'll figure it out. So I jumped on eBay. By the way, you guys, never do this. Get a mentor. I jumped on eBay and I bought 10 homes for 50 grand. Quick story. Bought 10 homes for 50 grand. Thought I was going to make, all this millions of dollars.
Yep.
And everyone was telling me that I was crazy and I was going to lose all my money. And so I fly out there to Ohio, Pennsylvania market. I fly out there and I go to the first home. It's torn down. Second one's like this, right? Falling over. And after the first one, I call the guy, his number's disconnected. It's like, oh, here we go, right? Like, here we go. So it was like, okay, I got to make a choice here. And so from that, going back to how does baseball relate to entrepreneurship, right? It's kind of like you just don't quit. You just don't quit. You just go, hey, this is the cards I'm dealt, right? I had a bad at bat, get over it, and let's have some good at bats.
I want to pause you there because you said something that I think a lot of people really need to rewind and listen again. But you said get a coach. And the reason why that's important is because if you had a coach and that you could call, hey, should I spend this $50,000 on these 10 homes? Most likely, if this coach was worth their salt, they would have said, no, don't do that. Here's why. These 4, you're going to lose money. These 4, you're going to likely break even. And maybe a best case scenario, these 2, you make some money. But that's best case scenario, perfect world. So you probably shouldn't go that route to start.
Yeah.
If you had a coach at that moment, you probably would have avoided the pitfall of the experience you just went through. And people get so short-sighted, and they go to YouTube University, and yes, I get that we're on YouTube and you're watching this on YouTube now, right? Or they go to podcasts, and yes, I understand the irony of them listening to this on podcasts.
Yeah.
But they get so short-sighted to invest in themselves with a coach. And they're not investing in you. You run an incredible coaching business, Cheap Homes University. Yeah. Is that their website where they can find you? CheapHomesUniversity.com. Incredible coach, incredible human. I encourage you to get there. We'll talk a little bit more about why Cheap Homes. But, I mean, the reality is people are investing in themselves, not you. They're investing in themselves, not me. Because they need to know the lessons you learned, not necessarily the tactic. You need to say, don't do that because it was a hard lesson.
Yes.
Do this instead.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That is really pivotal, especially for people like you and me that tend to just blow through walls and ask questions later, right? I
jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down.
That's right. Pack your parachute on the way down, right?
Yeah.
So let's jump into why cheaper homes. I'm curious. I've done a lot of real estate over my years. I've done the $1 million flip. I've done developments. I'm currently buying apartments and I'm still buying cheaper homes. So I have my answer. Why cheaper homes for you?
So for me, honestly, it was my initial plan. I was living in Seattle, Washington in 2000.
Where there's no cheap homes, but okay.
In 2005. Yeah. Like nothing. When I started. And so I started there and my initial idea was, okay, I have a little money. Let me buy these cheap ones, learn on them, and then I can bring what I learned back and do it here in Tacoma, Seattle area.
Right.
And that was my initial thought. And so, as we know, life doesn't always work out the direction that we want, right? It's like this. So I just was going to do it to learn initially. I picked up my first year. I picked up a couple dozen, and I had contractors run off with money. Couldn't find a good manager.
Shocker.
And I started to very quickly understand, like, oh my God, like this is not what I thought.
Yeah.
And right, all the pain points, all the life lessons, trusting the wrong people, partnering with the wrong people, you name it. And so, but that was really the beginning. And kind of to circle back and answer your question, why cheap homes is as I started doing this, in 2005 and then 2006, I had a buddy that was like, hey, hook me up with some of these, right? And so I got him a couple good deals and fixed them and all of that. And that was kind of the start of our turnkey operation, which we can talk about. But for me, knowing what I know now, the reason that I love cheap homes is, one, it's super low risk, right? So it's a super low entry. Almost anyone can get into it. Low barrier of entry. Two is that if you know the right exit strategies, which a lot of people don't, they think, oh, I just have to fix it and rent it. That's the only strategy. But if they know the right exit strategies, like being a bank, seller financing, buying them on seller financing, selling them on seller financing, and a bunch of other things, then I just feel like it's a low barrier of entry, it's low cost, high return, and low risk. But it really all comes down to having, who are you working with? Who are you learning from? Who are you taking guidance from? And I'm super thankful that like I'm at a point now, 19 years later, and 4,000 deals that I've literally sold, and that doesn't count our holdings. Is I've learned so much that when people that I coach and mentor have an issue, I recently helped a guy, Eric, he brought an issue to me with a friend that had a property. I said, dude, I can show you. I said, tell me the story. I said, I can show you to get the house for $1,000 free and clear. And it's got a lady in there. She wasn't paying, but we can get her to pay, and I'll show you how to do that too. And he's like, what? Like, dude, how? Right? And we did, and he did. He's got the deed, got a house for $1,000. The lady's paying $650 a month, and the house is probably worth 60 or 70 grand. So you go, how in the world, right? And it's knowing when you've been down that road. All I tell people is where you're probably at now. I passed that exit like 18 years ago.
Right.
So I'm just farther down the road.
That's it.
And so I can just help not have you like, oh, hey, wake up, like get back. And I'm like that, the guardrail.
Yeah.
Right. I'm the guardrail. So they don't go like this, and they end up off in, the wilderness, and they get turned around and lost, and it takes them 5 years to get back to the freeway.
That's right.
Right. So I'm just further down the road. And so it's great because like had I had a mentor, one, to be honest, when I was in my mid 20s, or I say early 30s, at this point, in real estate, I don't know, if I'm being totally honest, I don't know that I would have really listened to him the way that I would listen now.
Sure.
Right? Like you think you know it all. You think that, oh, yeah, whatever. But now it's like, that's why I'm constantly going to events. That's why I'll see you guys at Cody's event, right? Yeah. It's like, I just want to constantly be learning, constantly be growing around other people that are doing more than me. And I think that, knowing what I know now, I absolutely would have found a mentor, because they would have saved me easy 10, 15 years. And I'd be so much farther ahead than where I am. But the blessing is I went down that road. So now I can help other people not have to go and get beat up like that.
I think every decade, I think I know it all. 20, thought I knew it all. 30, thought I knew it all. 40, right? It's just this, you get perspective based around the runway you go down, right? So being in real estate for 20 years, you get perspective of what you do and don't know, and how could you have handled these things better, and what you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So what was the moment that changed this thing? And so, to your point, the cheap homes I still love cheap homes. I'm still buying in Alabama. I'm buying in parts of Florida, which isn't quite as cheap anymore, but I'm buying because what you brought up, the creativity that you have now. You can fix and flip it. You can buy it, remodel it, and rent. You can do conventional ways that we do this. But let's talk about the creative side of things. I mean, you just talked about the seller finance notes. Let's talk about some creative deals that you've done. Like, I like this example of the one you did with one of your students. Talk about that. Like, how did you structure that where he's $1,000 into this property, the tenant's paying $650, he owns it with the deed. Talk about the creativeness that you can do with cheap homes. Yeah.
So, and plus, I think too, Justin, affordable housing right now is huge, right? So in these markets, there's a lot of markets, right? State-wise, Michigan, Louisiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Iowa. There's some areas you don't want to be in, some you do. But affordable housing is huge right now, right? With what's happening with inflation and cost of living and affordability and everything. So I think that's great. But yeah, to answer your question, long story short, he had a friend that owned this house. The guy, a lot of times people do things and they don't even know, they use the wrong agreements.
Yep.
They use the wrong instruments, like contracts. They don't really know what they're doing. It's kind of a chuck in a truck, backyard Billy kind of chuck in a truck, right? I learned that from Myron Golden. But it's like a chuck in a truck kind of ordeal. And so yeah, he had a guy that worked for him that was in financial ruins. He had this house. He didn't have insurance on it because he couldn't afford it. He owed 2 years of back taxes. Or no, like a year and a half. So in that state, the state will take it, right, and basically sell it at a tax check.
Sure.
So he was in kind of on the fence of that happening. This lady in there owed him $300 still, hadn't paid him in 2 years, right? And so I told Eric, I said, bro, it's super easy, right? Do a quick title search. We'll make sure it's clean. And then all we're going to do is use a quick claim deed.
Yep.
I have Simplifile, which is a same software a lot of title companies use. I can e-record any document anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, let's do a quick title search, check it. And I said, what you're going to do is go to him and say, hey, I know this lady owes you $300 or maybe it was $400, $300 or $400. She hasn't paid you to fulfill the original. It was like a land contract.
Yep.
And so, but it wasn't recorded. Right. So I said, why don't you go to him and say, hey, look, you're in danger from, so it's all about solving problems.
Yep.
Right. It's not about taking advantage of people. Some people go, oh, no, it's not, because he wasn't going to get anything. Right. And so now he's getting at least $1,000, which helped him tremendously in his situation. And then Eric just said, hey, would you take $1,000 and I'll take it off your plate? Because if you don't, you're going to lose it because your name's still on the deed, because the deed doesn't transfer on a land contract. You have to transfer it, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I just helped him solve the guy's problem. And the guy was super thankful, super appreciative. He gave him $1,000. We filled out a quick claim deed. And instead of doing it online for him, I taught him, right? I think that's the biggest thing with mentorship. You can't do things for people. No. You have to teach them how to. That was my biggest mistake when I first started years ago. Now it's like, hey, here's the deed. Go down to the whatever county recorder's office. Go to the county recorder's office. They're very kind. They'll help you record it, right? They'll tell you what you got to do, help you record it, and it'll be recorded usually same day, next day. Yeah. And then they'll give you the stamp copy. It's official. You take the stamp copy, you go to the house, you talk to the lady, and then here's how you approach them, right? And so anyways, so it's really just, it all comes down to solving problems.
That's it.
And using, but a lot of people, don't even realize, like we talk about seller finance. So seller financing is huge right now, right?
Huge. Have you done any installment agreement sales?
Tons.
Have you?
So here's the key on seller finance. This will be a huge nugget for people watching this to add value. Anytime you buy a property on seller financing, you need to use a promissory note, a mortgage, and a deed. Run it through the title company, get title insurance. That's the way you want to do it for a couple reasons. One, it's safe because the title's clean. You got title insurance, right? Two is that you're on the deed. And so now any equity that you captured, if you got it for 40, it's worth 90, you just made $50,000 in equity just snatching it, right?
That's right.
Then not counting the cash flow and all of that. So you want the equity and you want to be on the deed, right? So if you buy a deal on seller finance, that's the instrument you use. If you sell a property on seller finance, you want to use either a contract for deed or a land installment contract. The reason is because a couple reasons. One, so a contract for deed, land contract, same thing. It's a contract in exchange for the deed when the contract's completed.
That's right.
Right? And the reason you want to do that, and we can record them or not record them, it's valid either way. But the reason that's important is you don't, one, you want to give them a reason to make their payments and pay you off.
Right.
Right? So you have an incentive. Hey, once this is paid, you're going to get the deed. So there's a carrot at the end. Mm-hmm. So that's number one, which is huge. Number two is that you want to be on obviously the deed until it's paid for because, let's say it goes bad. People go, what happens if they don't pay me? So in Pennsylvania, a default on a contract, a lot of people don't know, a lot of attorneys don't even know this. They have a statute that a default on a land contract, if they default past a default date that's in the contract, it automatically converts to a lease, more or less a rental, right? So they lose their equitable interest in their rights. Mm. So at the end of the day, it's basically like an advanced eviction. It's not a foreclosure.
Wow.
Right? And so, but just knowing, you can even buy a house on seller finance with a promissory note mortgage deed. Your payment's $200 a month, and you go and you collect $900 or $1,000, and you sell it on a land contract for deed scenario, and you just make the spread. right? From the 200 to the 7 gross, right? There's tax and insurance. But that's a great way for people that don't want to have rentals, or they don't want to, you don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything. You just pay the tax and insurance and you collect a check right? So there's a lot of ways to do it that I don't think people just aren't exposed to, you know? So
talk to me a little bit about, someone just brought this up literally, I think yesterday, about installment purchases.
Yeah.
Right? What is the difference between that and just a seller finance? I know it's essentially the same thing. I just have never structured the paperwork with an installment purchase.
Yeah.
Right? But tell me the difference essentially is as a buyer, if you do that, or as a seller, are you sharing ownership on the deed? Is that what separates the difference?
No, on a land contract / contract for deed, they're the same thing. Article of agreement, they're all kind of the same.
So that is what he's talking about. Someone brought it up. You should do a installment purchase on this. You're basically doing a land contract, contract for deed.
If I'm buying deals, very rare. I never like to buy a deal and buy it on a contract for deed or a land contract.
Correct.
The reason is I'm not the owner, and I'm paying for everything, and I don't have the equity, and I can't refinance it, right? So all the benefits, I can't depreciate it, right? Whereas if I close on it with a promissory note mortgage deed, I take title. Now I can have the depreciation benefits. I have the equity that I captured. And there's, that's the only way that I would advise people. When you buy a deal, that's how you
want to be on title.
Yeah, but if you sell properties, never transfer that and use installment contracts. They're great.
Is there any difference in the contract?
From a installment to
installment from maybe contract for deed.
They're the
same thing.
Yeah.
It's interchangeable words. I think that's what I got caught up. So, it's essentially interchangeable words. Contract for deeds meaning I'm going to pay you off over time, and when I pay you off, I get the deed.
Yeah, it's
same thing with an installment agreement.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we record them online, a contract for deed, a land installment contract, and an article of agreement, they record all of them as a land contract. That's what it's recorded under. So it's basically a land installment contract.
Got it. Officially a land installment contract. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the reason why I still love the cheap housing is for everything you just said, is it creates options on your exit. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people get in, and let's just use wholesaling as an example. You come in as a wholesaler, you're just a wholesaler, right? You need to go find someone who sees value in that property. If you're a fix and flipper, that you are a hammer, you got to look for a nail, you fix and flip, it's all you do. If you're a long-term landlord buyer, you're looking for the right buyer. Now you run a turnkey property company, so we can talk about that, but that's all the person is. But for the people that actually want to have some level of volume, or business is a better way of saying that, then they need diversity in how they exit the property. Mm-hmm. Cheap homes gives you the diversity. You can wholesale it, you can buy and rental, you could fix and flip it, you can sell it off as a seller finance a land contract. You just get the diversity in that. And people think I'm getting crazy in my old age, right? Like, why are you buying all this stuff in Alabama? I'm like, bro, I'm buying a multi-million-dollar apartment for $250,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to have affordable housing. I get tax depreciation. I keep it for the long term. I have 40% equity when I'm done with the thing. Like, that's why. Now, is it a lift to get it there? Sure. But it allows me to have, 16 or 22 doors in a lower price market than Miami, right? But that's also not for everyone. I mean, you run a very successful turnkey business.
Yeah. Who
would be the best turnkey type of investor? Who are you talking to there?
Those are usually people that are business owners, entrepreneurs. They have a multiple 6-figure or even a 7-figure job, so they have the capital and they have the money coming in, and they just need to leverage their time. Yep. And so for those are usually the kind of people that we get properties for, and we get them to them. Justin, I think I sent you one. The one I sent you was $60,000, new windows, new roof. Had a tenant pay $950, right? And so and they prices can fluctuate, but for somebody that's busy, that's working a full-time job, right? That's beautiful. Yeah. It's whatever the return is, 12, 13, 15%, right? But in these markets too, what you got to understand is and kind of a golden nugget is I tell people, find the in the cheap markets, you find the big cities and you go out 30, 45 an hour 15.
Yeah.
Even up to an hour and a half. But you go to these tertiary outskirt markets, and the reason this is so important for people to kind of grasp, and this is stuff I usually only share with my coaching, but I want to help people, is one, there's not as much competition.
Sure.
So, you can catch more fish. Two is that there's not a lot of competition. If you're doing mailers and postcards and having a cold caller call them, you're probably the only one hitting them up. So you can get more deals. And then three is that in these outskirt tertiary markets, the population's growing, right? People are growing up in a lot of these places now and not leaving because it is affordable, and they can make it there, and they can work remote, right? Working remote.
The working remote changed everyone's game.
Everything.
That's right.
So now in these small cities, people are growing up there now and not going, man, I got to get the hell out of here. They're just going, hey, I'm going to hang here. I can work remote. I can have an app on my phone and sell sneakers or whatever I want to do. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that because there's so many options for working remote, and because it's affordable, people aren't leaving. Well, and the great thing is nobody's building houses in a lot of these small outskirt communities. No one's building. So what does that mean? Supply and demand issue.
That's right.
And so everything comes down to supply and demand. And so what's happening in those cities now, like houses we were getting 5 years ago, $650 to $750, we're easily getting $1,100 to $1,200, no problem now.
Crazy.
So think about that. Yeah. And a lot of times the taxes don't really go up much, if any.
Yeah.
Right? But the rents have just skyrocketed because of supply and demand. And so we help people. The turnkey model is great for people that have money, they have capital, they want to get in the game, where they're like, dude, if you can, because we get them the property, we fix it, we rent it, we manage it, we do everything vertically integrated. So it's nice because they deal with me and really my executive, which is world class. So they deal with all my gals, and then it's just a matter of taking care of them, over delivering, and capturing the repeat business. Once they do one and they see that it works, and they trust you, then it's like, oh man, off to the races. Hey, we want to buy 4 or 5 of these a year. So you create the repeat business, but you don't forget about the importance of constantly having some new business come in, because you never want to be dependent on one source for anything, really.
Totally. Yeah, listen, we're saying the same thing over and over again, but I would tell you guys, if you aren't yet following DJ, follow him. Great human being, first and foremost, so I give you that.
Thanks, man.
But, he really is the right educator for the time and days of today's real estate education is get into the deals, whether you're a turnkey person with like high earner W-2, you need some tax write-offs, you need, return on your investment. Turnkey is the model. I mean, that's just, if I had no time, all I'm doing is turnkey. I want a return on my cash, right? So if I have high income, doctors, lawyers, other real estate investors like, God, let me just dump some money in a turnkey scenario.
Plus, Justin, as you know, dude, these people, a lot of them don't know, these high earners, the depreciation right now, this year it's 60%.
I think it goes back up though, right?
If Trump gets elected, it'll probably go back to
100%.
But where you can depreciate 100% of that year one, bonus accelerated depreciation, there's, criteria, but ultimately not getting hung up in the weeds. Like, dude, most people, if they buy 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 investment properties a year, they pay $100, $200 in taxes, or $50,000 or $80,000, they can literally, as you know, eliminate their tax bill. You can flow it through to your personal income taxes.
Yep.
And so a lot of high income earners, not just the return that they can get and, all of that, right? But it's the tax savings that will, it's like you're either going to pay, Uncle Sam, or you can take that same money, buy some real estate assets that you have equity in, you have cash flow in, and you can get great returns. Which one would you kind of rather have, right? A lot of people too, they don't look at it. I always tell people, you got to look at things LTV. What's the lifetime value? If you buy one rental for 60 or 70K and it's rented now for 11 or 1200, I already ran the data on this. If you're 50, like me, 53, and you live to be 103, I hold it for 50 years. That house will pay me over $1 million. right?
And it doubles every 10 years.
They go, oh, I'm making $1,100 a month. No, that's paying you $1.4 million over your life.
Yeah.
So imagine getting 50 of those, right? That's like $60 million that those houses are going to pay you over the course of your life, not counting the depreciation and all the other benefits, right?
There's not a person that can make an argument that shouldn't be, like I say this all the time on my social media. Everybody needs to be in real estate.
Yeah.
Everyone. I don't care if you're 19 or you're 91.
Yeah.
You need to be in real estate for everything you just said. Income, appreciation, tax write-off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is everything, right? And so, guys, I will tell you right now, make sure you're following DJ. Make sure you go to cheaphomesuniversity.com. Everything this man does, he does it with integrity. He does it with all of his heart. He's an incredible human being and an ex-San Francisco baseball player. Brother, I appreciate you coming on. Anywhere else you want to point them?
No, man, I think, look, I think that, those of you that want to reach out, also my IG, is just at d.j.thielen.com. That's d.j.thielen, Thielen, like Adam Thielen, .com. So if you guys want to go to my IG, you can literally DM me, you can text me on there. But yeah, you can go to cheaphomesuniversity.com and check us out, get in touch with us, jump on a phone call and really just see how we can help you personally, depending on your situation, because everyone's situation is different. We're not high pressure. It's kind of like, hey, what's going on? How can we help? If we can help, we kind of figure out, hey, where do we go from here kind of thing.
No doubt.
And then, but yeah, I think, I definitely think it's a great time. I'll end with this, Justin, because I think this is really big for people to hear. And I'm not just saying this to like get business. I really believe this. I went through the last downturn, and I believe that I told everyone in 22, when everyone was screaming from the hilltops, 23 is going to crash. I said, no, it's not. It's going to be 25. I literally said this, right? My fiance, Kristen, laugh about it now. And I think I was right. Because when the meteor hits the center of the ocean, it takes time for the waves to hit shore, right? And I think that everything that's happened with the debt, with credit card debt, with home foreclosures coming that are being held back,
crazy.
I believe that people to get in now and learn the game now and get in and understand how to navigate and how to make money with various strategies.
Yep.
I think the opportunity in the next 4 to 5 years is going to be like nothing that we've ever seen. I really do. I just think that there's going to be a lot of fear. When fear is out there 100%. And there's uncertainty, people are going to be more willing to sell their home, more willing to take a seller financed offer, right? So there's going to be a lot more ability to get deals, get them cheaper, and even get them with great terms. So
the next 10 years is going to be the best 10 years to be in real estate, period. I'm totally with you. I'm going to buy everything I possibly can. In 10 years, I'll look up and I'll say, all right, now what do I want to do, right?
Yeah, retire in Italy.
Something. I'll take it. Lake Como. Brother, appreciate you being here as always.
Thanks,
You're an incredible human. Again, DJ Thielen is here at cheaperhomesuniversity.com. And if this meant anything to you, found 1 or 2 gold nuggets, share this with 2 of your friends. I'd appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
See you on the next episode.